Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 24 of the Ape and Bird Digital Collectible Show. Steve, is this week owned by Reddit? Is it owned by Elon? I don't know. Is it owned by NFTFest with Kevin Rose?
Oh, who knows, but what a week it's been. And a lot of it not to do with actually NFTs or digital collectibles as we are now. It's a big week, lots to get into. Let's start with Elon buying Twitter. And you've been within meters of Elon's home at one stage. So you know everything. Let us know about it.
Yeah, well, he was telling me a couple of months ago this was happening. No, look, I think it's pretty interesting, right? This has been an ongoing saga for many, many, many months. When did this start? Was it the end of last year or the start of this year? I think it was maybe the start of this year.
I'm thinking the start of this year, maybe 6 months it's been going on for.
Yeah. So I think his most recent tweet. I mean, I got back from some meetings this morning and I saw, Watch a Guru, I think, on Twitter. And it was just like, Elon fires this person, Elon fires this. And did you see the kitchen sink video, him walking in with it? Yeah,
I did. Yeah. And wasn't more, I believe his tweet was, let that sink in.
Yes.
Yeah, so I was a bit, is he throwing the kitchen sink at Twitter? It was a bit, I wasn't sure exactly what he was aiming for there, but Elon's humor is always hit and miss.
Yeah, well, the latest tweet is the bird is freed.
I did see that one.
Yes. And Beeple's come out with
I saw that one too. That was a very cool one. What do you think of the actual price he paid? Who won in this? Did Elon win? Did Twitter shareholders win? Did the CEO win? Who lost? What do you think?
I think the people of Twitter won. I think this is a good thing for the users of Twitter. It's probably
in what ways?
I just think clear, like bots, number one. You know, we see it on crypto Twitter all the time. Like if that can be cleaned up, and you know, even just running the NFTFest account on the most part, the last couple of weeks when it's really caught fire. I mean, that thing is just a shade under 5,000. So by any stretch of the imagination, it's not a large account. It's an event account, but we just get constant spam on that. You know, the amount of blocking you have to do, and it's just, I don't know, it's just not the friendliest user experience. And I have heard Elon say on the All In podcast that I listened to pretty regularly a few months ago that was one of the things he wanted to clean up if he was to take over Twitter. And then I think from an advertising perspective, I've ran a lot of ads over my time on the Facebook ad platform and Google ad platform, not so much since sort of Apple iOS have introduced sort of their new terms and conditions in the last sort of 12 to 18 months, or however that long as that's been. But very rarely do I ever advertise on Twitter. And I think if he can get an advertising product started up and sort of humming a little bit, that would be interesting in my mind to see where that would go, particularly in the world of NFTs. So I have no idea if he paid too high, too low. I'm sure you've probably got better thoughts on that, Steve. I would just be regurgitating what I've heard from others on that. I just think overall, though, that, you know, Elon generally runs pretty good companies, doesn't he? So, you know, you would expect to see changes for the positive as a user, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, it's a tough one for me. I'm not sure the public square being owned by one person is the best thing in the world. On a price-based thing, I think he got finessed massively by everyone that was running the board. What did he pay? $54 per share. We've seen even overnight, Facebook, Amazon dumping 20%. I would say Twitter stock, without all of this, would have been well under $20, maybe in the 10 to 15 range. So
and you're talking USD there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's massively overpaid for this. He didn't really want it, I think, which is an issue too. I believe he just didn't want to go to court, and this was the easiest way, not the cheapest. What did he pay? 33, 40 billion. But it is a concern. I do think at least we'll see a lot more change going forward. I don't know that he can do it. that 7,500 Twitter employees couldn't do. And he is looking to fire, I think, 75% of staff. So he does have a great AI team, but it's going to be interesting to see the bot problem and how that gets solved. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch. I'm still 50-50 on if it's going to work out for users at the end of the day. But the CEO made off with a $43 million exit. So he's done well.
Sounds like a 2021 NFT project founder.
Exactly. And
Pixelmon.
Exactly. And all shareholders have done well. So at least some people are happy. But staying on Twitter, today they came out with, a tweet saying there's a new product, sort of product. But now if you paste in a URL, so a link to certain NFTs on certain platforms, it's not on OpenSea. So OpenSea links don't do this yet. But Magic Eden, I think Looksrare, and a few others, if you post the link, there's a new sort of layout. It will show the image of the NFT, a direct link to the buy page, and a lot more information. So this is really cool. And I'm hoping that the next step is actually them becoming a marketplace, because once it's on Twitter and you can buy and sell and show all your NFTs, there is no need to go to any of these marketplaces. And we're going to get to a few marketplaces later on today. But that was really good to see. And hopefully, with Elon being so into crypto and, not so much NFTs, but that's an area that he really looks at and grows going forward.
Yeah, 100%. I'm very bullish on this. I think I remember saying many months ago when Meta put out their press release about integrating verified NFTs on Instagram in a beta version. I just think the more NFTs are integrated, I should say.
Integrated into Instagram.
It's been a big week. Integrated into the platforms that we use the most on a daily basis. It's just going to ingrain itself more and more into the psyche of all of its users. So I'm incredibly bullish for that, and I think that it just makes complete sense when we go to all these marketplaces, we buy our NFTs, and then essentially we screenshot them and then we put them up on our social feeds, mainly Twitter, and then we talk about them. So this is a great segue.
Well, exactly. Well, that's what I was going to say. Reddit NFTs is the big thing this week, and it has apparently onboarded 3 million new wallets, which is more wallets than have interacted with OpenSea. So tell us about the Reddit NFTs, what they do, why it's a big deal. And yeah, we have talked about this before, but now it seems to have caught the zeitgeist.
It has, and it's sort of got this little, which I think is a lot of fun, right? I think that this past week is, the energy, even the last few weeks, the energy is really picking up, and I love these.
NFTFest is bringing all the energy back.
Of course, definitely claiming all of that. The crypto snoo. So the snoo is the Reddit sort of little logo, or the Reddit, what would you call it? Icon, mascot, something like that.
Yeah, mascot. Yeah.
But yeah, I love these little cultural internet wars, and sort of, I can't remember what day it was. I've been very, very head down this week, but I definitely have been on Twitter and are sort of seeing all these barbs being thrown, and a lot of people that I'm in regular Discord chats with going into the Reddit world and just getting demolished with comments. I mean, Twitter can be a pretty brutal place at times, but geez, Reddit I think sometimes can take it to another level. So I've really enjoyed the banter and the sort of the rivalry between almost the Reddit NFT community versus the NFT Twitter community. But yeah, in terms of the numbers, I mean, as you mentioned, 3 million, and the funny thing is, and we sort of made reference to it off the top of introducing this show, of digital collectibles, right? So they have chose to not really use the NFT terminology or acronym. They're trying to steer away from that and using digital collectible. I don't know. I think these things will chop and change, right, over time. I still think, I mean, obviously I run an event called NFTFest, and we have a show called Ape and Bird NFT Show. But ultimately, to me, I feel like non-fungible token, that acronym, even though it's a bit clunky, is more all-encompassing than digital collectible, right? Like digital collectible is one niche of what an NFT can be, right? Yeah. So I think NFT is a better word, but for whatever reason, and it's funny, I even speaking to some of the sports that are going to be involved with NFTFest, and I hosted this panel a couple of weeks ago, and it was very topical at the time. We've decided, in Sport X and Sport Y, we're going to steer clear of using the word NFT. And for whatever reason, it seems like in Web 2 land and people that are not in the thick of things have decided to say that NFT is bad, and it's just such a polarizing word. I'm not sure I necessarily believe that. I think that that's actually something that people have made up in their minds a little bit, that NFTs is such a polarizing acronym, but I think it'll swing back at some point. So ultimately, I don't really care. Digital collectible, NFT, digital asset, digital this, digital that, whatever. It's still really all the same stuff we're talking about.
Yeah, and we've seen now that all these Reddit people are into digital collectibles. They're starting along the path that we've been on for the past, 18 months, 2 years. So they're learning, and they were always so negative. If you go into any Reddit thread on NFTs, it was 90% negative. And now, of course, that they own an NFT and it has gone up in value, they're starting to really understand how great these things are.
You know what it sort of reminds me of? I remember there was these things called the Mutant Ape Yacht Club, right? And everyone said, geez, that art's pretty ugly. And then price went up and everyone said, how good is that art? Sorry, we haven't had an oddities and mutant little banter for a couple of months.
Are oddities still a thing? What? I thought they just burnt them all.
Look, it's never financial advice on this show, as we repeat every single episode, but surely we have to be bullish on the oddities long term.
We'll see.
I've just hijacked our agenda there, but this is what happens when you write the show notes, Steve. I'm not.
Yeah, this is the first time. So give us feedback. Actually, this is what we never do. Can you like the YouTube video or however you do it on Spotify? Let us know that more than 3 people are watching. So a little thumbs up on the YouTube, and I'll keep an eye on that.
And subscribe. And
subscribe, yes. Oh, yes. I'm now a YouTuber. So what we've seen in the Reddit threads is they now like NFTs or digital collectibles. And then the funniest one I saw yesterday was someone, of course, has now bought the top. The next day, prices went down. How does that happen? So he posted on Reddit that he bought it $2,000. It's now $1,400. Who does he contact to get his $600 back? And he would send them back if he got all his money back. And any sane company would offer refunds. So this was really interesting. And it's going to be a lot of fun to see Redditors learn and get into this space. We make fun of it, but this is really great that we're going to have all these people with a digital collectible without knowing about it and now learning about it. And yeah, we'll move a few to our side, and we just rinse and repeat with every other company in the world over the next decade. And then hopefully we get there where everybody understands what this technology is and we can keep building.
I couldn't have said it better.
Just to end Reddit as well. So we did mention 3 million accounts. That's a very cool sounding number, but only 4,000 trades or transfers of these NFTs have happened. So it is at the moment a very tiny subset of all the NFTs that were created, and they're using Polygon as well, a layer 2 that we go over a lot. So really cool. And it could also coincide with the crypto pump that we've had happening over the past few days. Talk us through that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been nice. I mean, I think actually it's turned red again, and it's starting to retrace about 6 or 7 hours ago. But I have not spent a lot of time on price the last couple of weeks in particular, even probably getting into like sort of 2-3 months now. but it's always nice when you see a few green candles, right? Like it's just it
and they
has
were big green candles.
yeah, there was they were, and so it just bit of relief, I think, in what has been a pretty harsh last what would you call it, 5 months, 6 months, roughly 5 6 months.
It's been a while, but
yeah,
who knows where it'll go. We'll just like you, I don't pay much attention anymore. I used to have the FTX app Blockfolio. I deleted that 6 months ago because I would check that 20 times a day. I don't know why, but it was really good to delete it. Now, maybe once a day I'll go to CoinMarketCap and have a look, but it is amazing how stable the price of Bitcoin and ETH have been compared to how volatile something like the S&P 500 is. So, I pay attention.
It's actually nuts, isn't it? When you think about it.
Tech stocks going down 20% in a day and Bitcoin moving 1 or 2% max. It's incredible.
What do you think that says in terms of just those two particular cryptos, Bitcoin and Ethereum, like in terms of solidifying them and sort of just so many people now knowing of them and believing in them? Like it's such a positive sign in my mind.
Yeah, or there's that, and I think it is positive that it's managed to hold where it's held. But there's also, I think, the fact that people just don't know which way it's going to go, where the next leg is. Is it going to skyrocket back up, or is it going to crash as the next thing? And there's just too much weird stuff happening in the world that you just don't know. So I don't know. I don't know if it's a good or bad thing. We'll just take it as it comes. None of us are day traders or anything like that. We believe that this time in 10 years, it's going to be much more than it is now. And we'll keep building stuff on top of it. But it's hard to separate that short-term news that you're getting and you have access to at any time compared to long-term, we know we're going to be fine. So, yeah.
I tell you actually what I was thinking about the other morning. This is a very sophisticated thing that I've learned of how to deal with a bear market and how to deal with price drawdowns, because obviously I was essentially a quite a emotional mess earlier this year when I'm in the US, just watching.
Go back to those episodes. I don't know, 13 maybe or 12. I can't remember.
Just the not only the mental anguish, just it was physical pain, I got to say. But here's my new thing, right? So it's very sophisticated. I know I said I don't look at price as much anymore, and that's true. But I still look sometimes. So if I go to bed, or if I'm hearing that the Fed's announcing another rate hike or potential rate hike, or this or this is happening, I got to say all these things, all these sort of like announcements and things that generally trigger price to go up or down, or generally speaking, that I'm learning more and more about from people that I'm in the Proof Collective with. There's a guy named Mario who has a Moonbird on Twitter that does these awesome threads about sort of the macro environment. So here's what I do. If I wake up in the morning and I'm like, geez, price is going to be probably down a lot, whatever the price was the day before, I go, it will definitely be down by at least 20%. I open CoinGecko, and if it's only at 8% down, I'm like,
good day.
What a good day. And then occasionally it'll be just flat, or it'll be like up 1%. And I just think I've had the biggest win ever. So I highly recommend just trying to have a drastic view, like trick your brain into having a drastic drawdown.
Be a pessimist in everything in life, and everything is a positive. If you wake up in the morning, you didn't die.
Set the bar very low, people. That is my message to you this Friday. Everything else is a bonus.
Oh my. Whatever works, whatever gets you through the next, who knows how long. All right, let's talk about the general ecosystem and big NFT projects. So we'll go over Azuki, Artifact, Bored Ape, but we can start with Azuki. Tell us about some golden skateboards that sold for a shitload of money.
Yeah, well, I was just following the sort of banter and the the auctions. Was that on Monday, I think? Was it Sunday US time? And I think it was Monday.
Maybe Sunday, yeah. Sunday,
Monday.
Monday.
Yeah. So I can't remember. Was it Dingalings that ended up?
He did. He came first. I think it was 302 ETH.
Yeah, and I think Nate Alex was bidding on them as well.
He was bidding, but I think he gave up around 170 ETH.
Yeah, so how many of them were there again? So the most expensive went for 309 ETH to Dingalings. And so you get the physical, obviously. So, value for money there, only 400 grand, and you get the physical, Steve.
I believe it was 20,000 worth of gold plated.
Right. I think this speaks to two things in my mind. One is the strength of the Azuki brand, even though they went through. I got to say, with sort of my own bags with Moonbirds, I'm hoping Moonbirds has a similar trajectory where, not to get onto Moonbirds right now, but just in saying that I think projects can take a big hit and then come back. I think if the narrative can shift. But I think there's a pretty sticky community amongst Azuki holders. Like even when the drama happened with Zagabond, the floor did drop, but then it picked back up, pretty quickly. And then it started to sort of catch fire again, about a month ago, I think, from memory. And when I say catch fire, at least catch fire in the context of
going up in a down market.
Correct. Yeah. So I think it speaks to the stickiness of the Azuki community, but I also think it speaks to, I just think this is going to be the norm moving forwards. And what I mean by the norm is not necessarily these, a skateboard always selling for $400,000, but people think these headlines are the most ridiculous thing they've ever heard because it's still attached to, Web3 or NFTs or whatever. But there is so much money wasted by people that have the funds and have the discretionary money to throw at these things in the world without NFTs and Web3.
Private jets and random clothing and
Yeah, like, I worked in the golf world, and the amount of times that, rich business people and business owners would stump up, if you've ever seen The Last Dance with Jordan as well, just betting ridiculous amounts of money on, one hole of golf and things like that. And I just think there are people, whether you like it or not, people that have these type of funds and want to show it off.
And they're bored as well.
They're bored, and you get attention doing this, right? Like, so, if you buy one of these skateboards, everyone's saying, oh, what a waste of money, or they're saying, oh, what a boss, or what blah, blah, blah. It's always going to be polarizing. But I just think this market is not going away. It's only we're just going to see more and more and more of these types of stories moving forwards. Like the desire for luxury digital items that can also then be a physical item that doesn't even need to be a physical item. Just the desire for luxury digital items is going to keep growing and growing and growing, in my opinion.
And you're right that whereas, let's say this was just a general auction somewhere else, no digital stuff, you would have had 50 people in the room and no one hearing about it. So the people buying, you're right, get all these people talking about them because it is digital, because it is online. They've probably had a few million people hear about them, and Dingalings, of course, his name. And it came out, even though we had known for a long time, but Dingalings is actually an Australian. So that came out as well through all of this.
So I did not know that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had it. I knew it, but I just assumed it was common knowledge until there was a tweet that came out. But yeah, he had mentioned it in Dapper Labs days with NBA Top Shot. But yeah, so to me, it shows that there are a lot of very rich people holding Azukis. So that top end, and that's going to probably mean that floors will stay pretty high because they can defend their bags going forward as well. But yeah, it looks like it's a very strong community. Now, probably the number 2 behind Yuga, just on price alone. So interesting to see what they do going forward and how the price reacts after this big sale. But on to people buying expensive things. Artifact this morning had their sale of a $3,000 luggage, overhead luggage. So I believe the brand is Ramona or something. I'd never heard of the brand. Apparently, they're a luxury luggage company. So Artifact and them, it was 2 ETH, and there were 888, I believe. And then there was also 2,222 bots. And this was a great price at $100 or 0.07 ETH. Artifact, I think they've probably done about 8 to 10 drops now. So 8 to 10 smart contracts. Every single one has been an absolute mess. And this one, once again, they stuffed up the contract. So what they did was a very rookie mistake. So they've got a huge team. And it is embarrassing at times to see it because my bags are very heavy with Artifact. I do own a lot of CloneX and I do want them to succeed. But the way they go about things and, well, let's go to the start. The actual experience of trying to mint was nice. I was asleep. I slept through it. Australian time was horrendous. But you went to an On Cyber, and if you know On Cyber, it's like a virtual reality place. Yep. And then you minted from in there. And there was a drop thing where you had to say, I want to buy this, and you were waiting in line. So there was a lot of people very angry having to wait 3 to 5 hours and not get a mint. But this happens in shoes and other collectibles. But then, once you were allowed to mint, say you won and you're able to mint, you could mint, and then you could transfer that mint to a new wallet and mint again. So you had 5 minutes to do this as many times as you wanted. It was a very simple line in the contract that if any, even beginner level dev in Solidity looked at, would know that this flaw was there. And then the worst part, of course, was people were talking about it. They can't do anything once the contract's live and they're running this. But then the head dev comes out and says, oh, we're aware of it. We worked very hard on this. You can't always be perfect, blah, blah, blah. Like blaming everything but themselves. And they've had to do this every single time. And it leaves a sour taste because you think they would be better. You think they would pay for audits. And then at least come out. And last time they did this, they came out and said, we stuffed up. We'll do better going forward. Well, they didn't do better going forward, and now they're not admitting to stuffing up. But again, people bought 888 suitcases for $3,000, and the secondary price is already above mint. So just another thing of Artifact / Nike selling a lot of stuff, and I'm sure that will continue.
Yeah, 100%.
So then, let's also finish off by talking about Bored Apes. Do you want me to go over this, or do you want to talk about the latest news?
Well, I think you're across the latest news with the merch more than I am, but I think I might set you up by saying if it's anything like the last merch drop that I still had my ape for, and I definitely participated. I thought I would. I got one of the original Bored Ape hoodies. You often wear that on this show, Steve, you know, with the little thing on the hood. I love that one. I think it's a brilliant hoodie. You know, I have one of those T-shirts as well from that particular drop, which was probably, would that been about June or July 2021, that one?
It was a long time ago.
Yeah. But I got the most recent one where, you know, the hoodies and the
mutants,
the sweatpants and stuff were just like cardboard, like so bad, so bad. And even the T-shirts sort of were weird. They were like, I don't mind high neck cut T-shirts occasionally, but the arms were really weird. And it was just a very, very odd merchandise drop, like a very, very disappointing one. And I got lucky because I didn't have to pay any additional fees, like any customs. But I remember many of those group chats that you and I are in, you know, people were saying that all the time. Like, did you get stuck with, you know, an extra $50, $100, $200, all that type of stuff for? So I got off scot-free there. But I mean, let's hear from you. All I've got to say is if it was anything like the quality of the last drop, I wouldn't have been buying.
Yeah, it was bizarre. So I bought a few different lots of all the clothing. So all the Bored Ape stuff, all the Mutant Ape stuff. And it was just a lottery if I had to pay the GST or import taxes. So on one I did, and then on some others I didn't. It was very strange. But they're all still not open. They're in their boxes. I remember I opened one box, wore a pair of the pants and a shirt, and just went, all right, let's hope this is worth something in the future that I can sell. So they're just stuck in boxes. But they have had their new merch drop. And the price of a denim jacket plus one or two shirts was, I believe, $500 US. But the kicker, if you're an Australian or European, was that delivery was in between $250 and $350 as well. And I believe if you go into the Bored Ape Discord, their last merch drop that we just spoke about how bad it was, that had the announcement, had thousands of likes and everything. This latest one, even though the merch looks cool and it's by a proper brand, no one cares about. It's I don't know how much they've sold, but it seems from what I've seen on Twitter, no one's buying it. We're sort of sick of just having to pay money. I believe there's a bit of apathy because nothing's been dropped or noted in a while. And then moving on, they've just announced today that the staking of the ape coin is going to be pushed back again, which we all saw coming, for at least 2 weeks as they're waiting to see if we, and that means ape coin holders, vote to have an audit on the contract, which there should have been in the first place, as going back to the artifact thing. So it looks like now if we vote no to that, I did vote yes to that. You need to audit these contracts. It should have been done from the start. But if the vote wins, it will be kicked maybe a month until we can stake. If it loses, staking will be mid next month. But yeah, it's just really quiet from the team. I know personally how hard it is to build in this space and how long things take. But it just seems after that other deeds drop, they've been very, very quiet. And how much it's to do with the SEC stuff, and maybe they're just trying to get all their ducks in a row to have some super thing starting next year, and maybe because it's a quiet time and NFTs are dead, quote, dead at the moment. But you just know that Yuga eventually, they just need to do one or two tweets and things will start moving again. But yeah, it's getting to a stage now where it's almost doodle-like in there, not talking about what's coming up.
Yeah, the only thing I saw the other day, and I think I don't want to get too off the beaten track here because it's a pretty sensitive subject, but the whole Kanye stuff, like Gordon Goner tweeted something about Kanye, didn't he? And then I saw, excuse me, I've been fighting a bit of a bug all week, so apologies for the cough. I saw, was it King Blackboard got blocked or something, or I saw him tweet that he got blocked by Gordon. I mean, I don't think this is really news, but I was just sort of...
Yeah, I believe Gordon is Jewish, and we've all heard what Kanye's been saying, and Bored Apes have been working with Adidas. Adidas were the only ones that took forever to disown Kanye, I guess. And he had called it out saying, Adidas, you should be doing this. I believe King Blackboard said, stay out of it, blah, 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 or something along those lines. Just a usual Twitter beef, I guess, and got blocked. But yeah, that was pretty much the only thing from the founders we've heard. Apparently they're going on Rug Radio tomorrow, so that'll be interesting to see. I
did see that. They were obviously on the Full Send podcast a couple of months ago too. I think about maybe one or 2 months.
They did a podcast with who do you always listen to? Bankless or some other one as well? Recently.
It wasn't.
It might not have been Bankless.
Was it This American Life?
I think Deviant one.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, so I think things take time, so they're trying to get everything ready, and then they'll start doing announcements when they're ready. And that's what you want. We've talked about this before, where Moonbird's overshares. Yuga likes to under-promise, over-deliver. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that Proof and Moonbirds have probably pulled back a little bit since it's been sort of like we identified this many months ago, Steve, sort of in the different communication strategy. And I think they're trying to find some middle ground now at the moment, doing a few more things that are sort of Discord town hall styles only, rather than doing absolutely everything in public.
Yeah. Okay, so on to the final things before we shill our events. Looksrare, they've now moved to, well, they say no royalties, but I believe they've moved to a 1.5% flat fee on their platform, and then they give a small percentage of that in royalties. So let's say I sell an NFT on Looksrare. Sorry, someone sells an NFT on Looksrare. I'll now get 0.3% of the sale, where it used to be 5%. And they've come out saying, look at us, we're for the creators. Everyone else is giving them 0. We're giving them 0.3%. We've talked about this for a long time, how royalties were going to 0. And I've mentioned on Twitter that marketplace fees should be going to 0 as well. And we mentioned it at the top of the show, how great would it be if Twitter or some other platform, you could just buy and sell with a 0% on these platforms. And it's coming. It's just a matter of time. But the funny thing is, we've heard also about Blur.io.
Yep.
Now, Blur had been using X2Y2, whoever talked about before that no one seems to use. And X2Y2 were probably the first ETH, if not all chain marketplace to move to 0% royalty. And again, going back to QQL, which was Tyler Hobbs's drop,
yes,
on their contract, they had made sure that you couldn't buy or sell on the X2Y2 marketplace. And X2Y2 came out with a tweet saying, how dare you, this isn't what crypto's about, it's all about fair things and everything. Along comes Blur. Blur aggregates all the different marketplaces, and they were using X2Y2 APIs to aggregate those ones. X2Y2 cut them off from that because they didn't like some other platform using their listings. The funny thing is Blur then went and used the gem contract that connects to X2Y2. And this is the beauty of blockchain. Everything's interoperable. Once the smart contract's out there, anyone can choose to use it however they see fit. Now, X2Y2 came out today saying how wrong it all is that another place can use someone else's place. This isn't the thing of crypto. It was very, very funny to see. Everyone just stop using X2Y2, if you even did. But yeah, looks rare as well. Looks like they're having trouble. In all of this, the hatred for OpenSea has diminished a lot. There is talk now that, of course, they're going to have to move from their 5% royalty. Their royalty that creators set. But they have seemed to really be on the ball recently as well. So we'll see if OpenSea can somehow manage to keep royalties and keep as many people on their platform as possible.
Yeah, I think, these things go in cycles, right, in terms of the narrative of, what's hot, what's cold, what's in vogue, what's out of vogue. But, excuse me, I think a few months ago, Steve, we even mentioned that OpenSea's Twitter account had got a lot better. Like, it had seemed like they had hired some people that could understand the culture and could actually tweet out some stuff that would be funny, but also, also address when things go wrong. And instead of sort of burying their head in the sand, which they were sort of known for previously, and pretending the problem wasn't there, they actually openly admitted some stuff. And, that is the best way, as we know, in a sort of, 24-hour, 24/7 world where it is, fueled by this, that, and the other. People have short memories, but you have to address the problem, and then, people will move on. But if you pretend the problem doesn't happen, it just gets worse. So,
Yeah, exactly. And they're shipping a lot more as well. But now let's get on to the big one. Someone that I believe from our first ever podcast, we said, if we ever get this person on the show, I believe I said this, I'll just quit. I'll just be like, done, I'm out of here. You, while we're not exactly there yet, you have got Kevin Rose to be a virtual speaker at NFTFest, and you also dropped so many other amazing speakers in your round 2 of speakers. Talk us through it. Update us on NFTFest. It's looking like an amazing lineup, apart from one gold Bored Ape. But tell us all.
Yeah, so on Wednesday we dropped our second wave of speakers, and arguably you could say there was, it was just as big as the first wave, if not bigger. It was headlined by the likes of Kevin Rose, Vultura, Betty, DCL Blogger, Kieran Warwick from Alluvium, Asher from Lazy Lions. We had...
How good. I love that you mentioned all those names, and 99%, well, apart from Kevin, were Australian builders.
Yeah, 100%. And, I'm very, very excited, obviously, to have Kevin involved. And I've been working on that one for a while through the Proof and Moonbirds ecosystem. But, NFT Fest is obviously an Australian event. We want to showcase and highlight some of the best Australian projects and builders. But we also have a global flavor to it. And, in our first round of speakers, we had Jimmy.eth, we had Zeneca, we had Cooper Trooper, Jamie Schmidt from BFF. We want the big names globally, and we want the big names locally. I honestly think it's one of the best. I'm biased when I say this, but I would encourage any other listener, if you've been to any other Web3 or NFT conference that rivals this lineup, I would honestly love to see it, because I've been to a lot of them myself. I mean, VCon was outstanding. That was a star-studded lineup as well.
VCon also cost $14 million, I believe.
US, US. But, I think we've put together, and also Shan from Project Godjira. Shan's a guy that, I've had multiple conversations with over the last month, and he is an Aussie, and most of his team is here in Australia, but a lot of his holders, or the majority of his holders, are in Asia and America. And, he's going to be speaking about his Project Godjira. We not only from a project's perspective, and, obviously those notables that I mentioned, Jamie Schmidt, Kevin Rose, Jimmy.eth, all the sports, Steve, or all the lion's share of the major sports. So your mate, Jardinian, is that how I pronounce it? Jards?
Yep. Jards,
So Jards...
From the NRL.
From the NRL is flying down. So very excited to have Jards down. And Jards rocking his NFTeams PFP on the website and on the speaker graphics.
Yes.
We've also got Arthur Gillian, who is from the Australian Grand Prix. So they are dipping their toe into the world of Web3 as well. And then we've obviously touched on the AFL, Cricket Australia, NBL, Tennis Australia with Ridley. So we've got all the sports covered. And I should actually mention Leanne Batts from New Zealand Rugby. So Leanne is a DGen, and I don't think she'll mind me saying that. Leanne is heading up New Zealand Rugby's Web3 strategy. And you might have, I think we made reference of it a couple of weeks ago.
Last week, yeah.
So Leanne is flying over to be part of NFT Fest. On the music side, we announced, Motor DAO, Ocean Floor Music, that are two Web3 music platforms that I'm very excited to have involved. We've got Jacob Lee, who's been, doing some songs for us on Twitter Spaces. They've been incredible. I know you've missed the last couple of weeks, Steve, but
I'm trying to get to it.
He actually has been playing songs for us on a Monday night to finish the Spaces. And
nice.
he's got 800,000 plus YouTube subscribers, and one of his videos is nearly at 100 million views, which is just incredible. So, and he's a DGen, right? Like, he minted a lot of Bored Apes. We heard from Jacob a few weeks ago on Spaces, and I think the lineup, just in terms of having, everyone, like I said, from the projects to the sports to music to, we've got the best IP lawyers and best sort of digital asset lawyers in the country that are coming along. We've got lot of variety, I think is the best way I can say it. Also NFTDAO, which is a pretty cool project. It's a spin out of a guy that owns, he's an Australian guy that owns a full noun, and he actually has a skateboard noun. It was the first ever skateboard head noun. So he has spun
Well, we know
up,
how much skateboards are worth.
correct. So he spun up a sort of a DAO called NFTDAO, which, you know, I think they describe it in a video that I've seen as it's almost like Red Bull for Web3. So when you think about what Red Bull did with their sponsorships around, you know, extreme athletes and things like that over the last sort of 10, 15, 20 years, NFTDAO is sort of aiming to emulate that in a Web3 context. So they've been funded by nouns themselves, and they've got a lot of branding around NFTDAO and nouns with the noggles on all of these skateboarders, these up-and-coming skateboarders.
Okay. So I noticed you had a tweet that showed the sponsors, and I saw the Nouns logo on there. So is it Nouns DAO? Who sponsored that?
So NFTDAO, which is essentially a spin out of a guy. So his name's Gami. Gami has one of the original nouns. I can't remember how much he paid for it. It looks like a skateboard. If you go onto NFTFest Twitter, you'll see it. He was in our second round of speakers announcement the other day. His sub DAO, NFTDAO, is sponsoring. Having said that, we may actually have, and if you're out there, NFTDAO, Punk 4156, there's been a proposal.
Who listens every week?
I know. There has been a proposal put on chain by Gami that starts tonight, I believe. We're looking for Nouns actually to be a major sponsor of NFTFest, and Gami is driving that. And if you've seen some of the meme stuff that Gami does with, like, he actually did a mock-up of the Alex Theatre in the main room the other night. I've got to send this to you actually, Steve. And it's got all of people sitting, like, it's got people, essentially nouns, sitting in all the chairs of the Alex Theatre. It looks phenomenal. So shout out to Gami, who is driving that, but really excited to sort of have, you know, Gami involved with NFTDAO, and then potentially having, you know, nouns involved. I think that's
what have they got in their treasury, like 100,000 ETH, or is it 11,000 ETH?
I think it's 30,000 ETH roughly at the moment.
Ridiculous. Yeah. And the whole nouns thing is, they just want to spend the money to grow the space, grow the Nouns brand, and so on. So this sounds like a slam dunk for them. Hopefully that gets up.
So I was looking at little nouns for myself, and I'll still probably pick one up pretty soon. But obviously there's a little bit of a supply, you know, or potential oversupply with how frequent they're going to be, but moving forwards. But I got to say, I just want to get in that ecosystem because
there's an easier way than little nouns as well. There is now fractionalized nouns.
Yeah.
So you can buy a fractionalized main noun, and then you also get in via that way.
Yeah, I think that's an option. I do like the little nouns though. Like,
they do look cool.
Yeah. I got to say, I've taken a really strong interest in just having dealt with sort of Gami for the last sort of 4 to 6 weeks, and just seeing the stuff they're doing. It's fun. And I got to say the noggles, what they call the glasses, the nouns glasses, it's such a good marketing sort of, you know, branding play. Like, you can just whack them everywhere. They just hit the culture right.
It's almost iconic. You know that those are nouns.
Yeah, 100%. So really excited to have Gami involved. Damien King from Pummel, you're probably aware of Damien, Steve, as an Aussie ape holder. You know, Ghost to Sammy, who's very firm in the Solana ecosystem. So looking forward to having Solana represented as well. And Lambie, who's an artist, pop artist that is very much a degen and pumps out a lot of cool and weird and wacky stuff. So, you know, I think it's an absolute ripping lineup. NFTfest.com.au's got all of the current lineup, and I got to say, we've still got a few surprises up our sleeves too.
And the thing is, okay, amazing lineup, but these events, it's the people that come to them as well. So the network in there is just going to be crazy. So if you're in Australia, you can get to Melbourne while I'm on holidays on the Gold Coast. Head to NFT Fest. Now,
can I just actually add, because we've had a massive week of announcements, and I won't ramble on too much. Your ticket to NFT Fest is actually going to get you more than the conference. It's going to get you barefoot bowls on the Wednesday.
That's right.
I think we
Thanks to Pummel.
Thanks to Pummel. I think we announced that last week, Steve, but we've had 3 other events that have been announced. So we're going to have an official after party. We've hired out a nightclub in South Yarra here in Melbourne called Lux. Motor Dow will be actually helping us run that party. They'll be sponsoring it.
What does Joan have to do with Motor Dow?
Joan does some work for Motor Dow. So Joan actually had a lot to do with Motor Dow's NFT NYC party where Deadmau5 played. I went to that. That was a massive night out in Brooklyn. So Motor Dow are very connected into the Australian music scene. So they're sort of working on a lot of DJs for us at the moment. So your NFT Fest ticket, you will not have to buy anything additional. That will get you into the Barefoot Bowls, which is going to be a lot of fun on the Wednesday. That will get you into the official after party at Lux Nightclub. And it's also our friends at NFT Melb, James Rowdy and Daniel Monge, going to be running a networking drinks after the content ends on Thursday, the 24th of November, at the Village Bell Hotel in St Kilda. So we'll go from there from roughly probably 4:35 to 7. Then the after party will start at Lux, maybe 7:38. And then the last thing we've got, which is going to be more of a limited capacity, but I think a lot of people are going to be hungover and probably can't make it anyway. We do have a recovery brunch that is happening at the Emerald Peacock Rooftop Bar in the Melbourne CBD on the Friday, probably from, I'd say, 11, and that's been sponsored by AWS Startup. So we have got a jam-packed event. There's a kickoff event on the Tuesday night with Oshi Gallery and Ocean Floor Music. So essentially it's 2 days of conference, 4 days of activities. So it is jam-packed.
What were ticket prices?
$220.
Yeah, great deal. That's amazing. All right, so we mentioned Ridley. I'll do my little pitch. NFTeams at the start of this year, we had our first meetup at the Australian Open. We're repeating it again, thanks to Ridley and the Australian Open, and we're going to be doing the same thing all over again. And yeah, I'm excited. We're going to open this up to others as well. So if you own an NFT, it's going to be $100, and we've got dinner and drinks at the Imperial afterwards, tickets, merch, and we're going to have some fun and games on the day. If you don't own an NFT, you could buy one and then pay $100, or it's going to be $200. Just dinner and drinks and entry is more than that normally. But come into our Discord, say hi, and yeah, I can't wait to show some things off at the event. Ridley's going to come to the dinner afterwards. We're going to have a fair few people there. So yeah, excited for that.
I am excited for that too, because that was, I would say, yeah, it would have been, because we were still in COVID lockdowns. That was the first ever NFT meetup I had ever been to of any type or any sort. And really probably the birth of this show, wasn't it, Steve? Like when you think about it, it's the first time we met and had a chat, and Yeah,
I remember that chat. There were people around us, and me and you were just bouncing off each other and all these ideas, and I think everyone else was like, these two are the massive NFT nerds in the group.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even feel like an NFT nerd, but I think I was, yeah. But it was a great day out, like just to be at the tennis and then finish off at the Imperial like we did. And we've said it on this show many times, and I keep beating this drum that we're now entering in a phase that I think NFTs will continue to drive, where we're meeting people online first through whether it's Twitter Spaces, NFTs that we own, and we suddenly have a mutual interest. And then we're taking those relationships and we're extending them and we're strengthening them at IRL events. And, I'm very excited to see many of the NFTeams holders once again in January.
Me too. Okay. Have you got anything to add?
I do not.
No, I think that was a pretty good one, even though I can tell you've been busy and not so plugged into the space this week. That's how I feel every week. So I normally come on here just to learn what's going on. So what have we got? How many weeks left until NFT Fest before you're probably a DJ again?
Less than 4 weeks now. So we are about 3 and a bit or 3.5 weeks away from kicking off. So yeah, it is head down with that at the moment, but I think it's going to be a really fun time for people.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, we'll be back next week, and I'm sure a million more things will happen. So we will chat to you then. See you later.
We're out.